Elon Musk's salary at Tesla is $1 a year. Not 1 million, not 100,000, $1. That's been the number on Tesla's own compensation disclosures for years. Not a loophole, not a clever tax trick, just the literal figure filed with regulators. And yet Musk is, on most days, the richest person alive. His net worth swinging by tens of billions of dollars, depending on where Tesla's stock closed that day, but consistently ahead of anyone else on the planet by a wide margin. Almost none of it came from a paycheck. The better question, then, isn't how much Musk makes. It's what he's actually being paid with, and why a company full of lawyers and accountants decided $1 a year was the right number to put next to their own CEO's name. Tesla isn't paying him in money, it's paying him in a bet. Specifically, stock options, the right, not the obligation, to buy Tesla shares at a fixed price set years in advance if certain conditions are met first. In 2018, Tesla's board approved a compensation plan for Musk, built entirely around this idea: no cash salary, no guaranteed equity, just 12 separate chunks of stock options, called tranches. Each tranche unlocks only if two things happen at once. Tesla's total market value crosses a specific, rising threshold, and the company also hits an operational target, something like a revenue or profitability milestone. Not one or the other, both. Miss either one, and that tranche vests at 0. Not delayed, not partial, nothing. Hit both, and Musk earns the right to buy Tesla shares at a price locked in back in 2018, a price that reflected what the company was worth then, not what it might be worth by the time he actually exercises the option. That gap between the locked-in price and the current price is the entire mechanism, so it's worth being precise about it. An option isn't a payment. It's a coupon on ownership, and a coupon is only worth something if the thing you're buying became more valuable after the price was fixed. If Tesla's stock had gone nowhere between 2018 and today, this package would be worth close to nothing. $1 a year in salary, and options on a company that never grew into them. It's not what happened. In 2018, when the board approved the plan, Tesla was worth somewhere between $50 and $75 billion. A real company, but one still struggling to prove. It could manufacture cars profitably at scale. Over the following years, production problems eased, deliveries scaled, and the stock moved well past where it stood when the strike price was set. Tranche after tranche of the 12 unlocked, not because anyone handed Musk a bonus, but because the market cap and operational thresholds were, one by one, actually met. That history is why the headline number attached to this story, usually somewhere around $56 billion, needs a footnote most coverage leaves out. That figure isn't cash sitting in an account. It's the estimated spread, the difference between what Musk is allowed to pay for Tesla shares under the 2018 price and what those shares are worth on the open market right now. Buy at the old price, and the shares are instantly worth today's price. The moment you own them, that gap is the pay. Because that gap is just the distance between a fixed old number and a moving current one, the reported value of this package was never fixed either. It moves every time Tesla's stock moves. When shares trade near their highs, estimates have put the value of this same package well north of $100 billion. When the stock pulls back, so does the number. There's no single true figure sitting somewhere waiting to be reported correctly. There's a formula, and the formula has a variable in it, Tesla's share price, that nobody controls with certainty, including Musk. That also answers where the money physically comes from. Tesla isn't wiring $50 or $100 billion out of its bank account. When Musk exercises these options, Tesla issues him new shares at that old locked-in price. Those shares didn't exist before. They're created for this purpose. Every other Tesla shareholder, from index funds to individual retirement accounts, now owns a very slightly smaller slice of the same company, because the total number of slices just grew. That's dilution, and it's the actual funding mechanism behind this pay package. Not Tesla's cash, but a small distributed cost spread across every other owner of the company, which explains why a board would design something this complicated, instead of simply paying Musk $20 million a year in cash, the way most large company CEOs are paid. A normal salary is guaranteed regardless of performance. Tesla's board did close to the opposite. They told their CEO he would get essentially nothing. unless Tesla grew by an enormous, specific, and at the time genuinely uncertain amount. Miss the thresholds and years of work pay out in $1 a year and worthless options. The board wasn't being generous. It was betting that tying Musk's entire financial upside to Tesla's long-term value, with real downside if that value never materialized, would keep him building rather than collecting a check, regardless of outcome. On its own terms, that's a fairly disciplined structure. No pay without performance, at a scale no public company had really attempted before. But performance wasn't the only thing standing between Musk and this money. A court was, too. A single Tesla shareholder sued, arguing that, however cleverly, the 2018 package tied pay to performance, the process behind it was never fair to begin with, that the board approving those terms wasn't independent enough from Musk to negotiate them on shareholders' behalf. That's a different claim than he didn't earn it. It's a claim about who was actually on the other side of the table when the deal was struck. This is where Delaware corporate law becomes relevant, and it's worth understanding the state's rules apply specifically here. This dispute doesn't play out the same way in most other jurisdictions. Delaware courts apply extra scrutiny when a board approves a deal with someone who holds outsized influence over that same board, a founder, a controlling shareholder, someone the directors' own positions may depend on keeping happy. The concern isn't that such a deal is automatically bad. It's that the normal safeguard, two sides genuinely negotiating against each other's interests, might never have actually happened. In January 2024, the Delaware Court of Chancery agreed with the shareholder. The judge found the board hadn't shown real independence, and that Musk had effectively sat on both sides of his own compensation negotiation. The remedy wasn't a fine or a reduction. It was rescission, the entire package, all 12 tranches, whatever had already vested, treated as if it had never been approved. This is where performance risk and legal risk collide, and the difference between them matters. Performance risk is the stock failing to hit a threshold, a market outcome. Legal risk is a court invalidating the whole deal on procedural grounds, regardless of what the market did. Musk had already cleared every performance bar. Tesla's value really had grown roughly 12-fold over the years the case covered. None of that mattered to the rescission ruling, because the court wasn't questioning whether he'd earned it under the plan's own rules. It was questioning whether the plan had been created fairly in the first place. Unwinding a 6-year-old pay package sounds clean in a headline, but Musk had already spent those 6 years running the company under the assumption it existed. Tesla had already captured the value of his leadership during that stretch, independent of any later ruling on the paperwork. That mismatch, years of completed work versus a process ruled invalid after the fact, became the core of Tesla's appeal to the Delaware Supreme Court. On December 19, 2025, the state's highest court agreed with Tesla. In a unanimous ruling, the justices found that erasing the compensation entirely would leave Musk, in the court's words, uncompensated for years of work he had actually performed. And that rescission, given how much time had passed and how impossible it now was to put every party back in its original position, wasn't a workable remedy. The court didn't declare the original approval process flawless. It ruled something narrower, that wiping out 6 years of already completed work wasn't the right fix for whatever problems existed in how it was approved. The package was reinstated, adjusted for Tesla's stock price at the time. Some estimates put its restored value well above the original $56 billion figure. Another reminder that this number was never fixed, only ever a snapshot of a target still moving. While the appeal was still pending and the outcome genuinely uncertain, Tesla's board hadn't simply waited. In 2025, they built a second, smaller compensation package for Musk, worth roughly $29 billion, explicitly as a hedge. If the rescission held up on appeal and the original 2018 package stayed dead, Musk wouldn't walk away with nothing. Tesla told investors directly that this wasn't meant to stack on top of the original grant, no double dip. It existed purely as insurance against losing. Once the appeal succeeded and the 2018 package came back to life, that insurance no longer served a purpose. In 2026, Tesla revoked the interim award. The company had built a financial safety net for a legal outcome that never ended up happening, then took it back down once it wasn't needed. A small detail, but a real one, showing that boards at this scale don't just manage business risk. They manage the risk that a court might unwind years of decisions after the fact, and they build contingency plans for it. the same way they'd hedge any other exposure. You might expect that after a rescission, an appeal, a hedge, and a reinstatement, Tesla's board would want distance from designing enormous legally contestable pay packages. Instead, shareholders separately approved an even bigger one, a new package valued at roughly $1 trillion, structured the same way as the last. No cash, no guarantee, entirely contingent on Tesla hitting a string of market cap and operational milestones over the next decade, with the top tier requiring the company's total value to reach somewhere around $8.5 trillion, several times its current size. That number reframes everything before it. This was never a one-time compromise the board stumbled into under pressure. It's now the deliberate, repeated template for paying Tesla's CEO. Contingent, milestone-locked, zero cost to shareholders if the targets aren't hit, substantial dilution if they are. The lawsuit, the rescission, and the reinstatement don't seem to have pushed the board towards something simpler or more conventional. If anything, they pushed it toward doing the same thing again, at a larger scale, presumably with a clearer sense of which parts of the process a court might scrutinize next time. So return to the number this started with, $1 a year in salary. Not a quirk and not a trick. The direct result of a specific decision that Musk's real compensation would come entirely from a bet on Tesla's future value, not from a check that arrives no matter what happens. That bet has now been placed twice. It has already been erased by one court and restored by a higher one. And right now, it carries no guaranteed payout at all. Only a set of thresholds that will or won't be crossed over the years ahead. That's what Elon Musk's salary actually is. Not a paycheck disguised as something smaller, and not a hidden fortune someone forgot to report. $1 and a decade-long court-tested wager on how much bigger Tesla can become.